Hey everybody, welcome to our event today. We're going to be talking about the Maven Analytics Bootcamp and specifically asking any and all questions that you guys have pre-submitted. So thank you to everybody who did go ahead and submit questions ahead of time. We've actually got quite a bunch. I think I've got about 20 questions here, and I will start with just answering those that have already been pre-submitted. And then after that, we can go into taking any live questions. So I'll try to be pretty quick on each of these questions since we've got 20 already. I'm also just dropping a link here in the chat for where you can get more information on the Maven Data Analyst Bootcamp. If everybody else could also just drop a note in the chat, introduce yourselves, where you're from, talk about what you're hoping to get out of this, I think that would be really great too. So first, let's jump into this first question. How best to make a career pivot from engineering to data analysis? So first thing, basically, you're in great shape as an engineer if you're looking to make this transition into a data career. I know a lot of engineers who have turned into fantastic analytics professionals, data scientists. What you've got going for you already is the engineering mind. You know, it's a very logical mind, very math focused. And what you really want to be working on is how do you transition from thinking about data as something that needs to be managed and maintained and stored into something that's an asset that can be learned from to pull out insights and to help steer a business. So I think that's the piece that some engineers kind of need to get over the hump of, and just generally kind of more exposure to the business side. So that's what I would recommend focusing on. But absolutely, if you're an engineer and you think it would be more fun to be a data analyst, that's a path that is extremely possible. I've personally seen a lot of people go this path and make that pivot. So I hope that's helpful to you. So next, what is the current status of the data analyst and data scientist opportunities? So this is a great question. I think people have probably heard a lot of some of the tech companies kind of having a rough road right now and downsizing. I think what's interesting is in our line of work, it's actually better than I think more broadly. There was a really good post from a recruiting company called Analytic Recruiting. And I'd recommend everybody, if you're interested in analytics, check them out. It's Analytic Recruiting is the company name. And they had, if you look at their LinkedIn, they had a LinkedIn post yesterday talking about some crazy number of opportunities that they have open right now. And it was basically this, that exact message was, how is it so different from the broader market? Seems to be in trouble, a lot of bad headlines, but they've just got so many opportunities, and they were talking about that difference. So I would recommend if you're looking for opportunities, check them out. We're not affiliated with them anyway, but I've just been familiar with them for many years, probably over a decade, and it's a great shop, and they have a ton of opportunities if you're in the data space. How can this program help with finding a new career? So specifically talking about the bootcamp program here. So a lot of the students who enroll in the bootcamp program come to us looking for just that. Not everybody. You know, in the current bootcamp, there's 17 students that are going to graduate tomorrow. And I'd say out of that group, it's probably 11 or 12 of them are people that wanted a new career, versus the remainder are people that were already in the career that they're excited about, and they want to accelerate faster. They want to be better with data. So things that we do here, I'd say a big piece is, in addition to kind of teaching the skills that really employers are looking for, if you're looking for a data analysis career, we also focus on career coaching sessions. So we take you through project portfolios is the first session that you do. That's one I taught this past cohort, where we're trying to teach you what goes into a great project portfolio, why it's so important to you, and why it's going to be just this amazing tool as you're trying to market yourself and trying to show employers what you can do. Um, they that's the first session that we do. Then we go into LinkedIn profile optimization with everybody. We do reviews there to make sure you're looking really good. Same thing we do with resume reviews with everybody. So there's this whole component about marketing yourself, and that's how we start. And then the career coaching sessions shift into how to get active in the data community, how to start building a brand for yourself and meeting the right people, how to start actually finding jobs and applying the right way. And then finally, at the end, we do interview prep. I'm going to quickly just drop into the chat here. So Mert's got a question. It's analytic recruiting, and I think it's just analyticrecruiting.com. But just dropping this here in the chat so that everybody can see that. So hopefully that helps, Jihan, answering that question, kind of how we focus on finding a new career. It's both teaching the skills used in that career, and then the other side of it too, which is teaching folks how to market themselves, which is equally as important. You really have to do both, or else you're not going to find success penetrating. So next, we've got, how does the bootcamp curriculum differ from your subscription courses? So this is a great question. We do leverage a lot of the self-paced content in the bootcamp as well. So you'll go through similar courses in Excel, SQL, Power BI, and Tableau, basically that you could just go through on your own. What we do additionally is, like I mentioned, we have these career coaching modules throughout that are really focused on marketing yourself and helping you figure out how to get a job. We've also got, at the end of each of the modules, so there's an Excel module, a SQL module, Power BI, and Tableau. And at the end of each of these, we do a major project where you take a big data set and you will break that down and analyze it, solve business problems, and then put together a presentation which you will actually bring and present to the cohort, to the Maven instructors, and we'll give you feedback in real time. So that's one of the places where we think students have found a lot of value, is in actually getting that experience, working on more projects, getting feedback from us, being able to present their work with some really good critiqued feedback from the instructor team, and those projects end up being what people put into a portfolio, and they end up being the best assets that somebody has when they are going to market and trying to market themselves for a data analyst job. So that's a huge piece. The other piece that we have that's a little bit different is we have a private Slack community where at any point you can go for help, and that's limited to just the people in your cohort. It's a very small group there. So like the current cohort right now that's graduating tomorrow, they have 17 students in that cohort. So it's really quite a lot of hands-on support and a really good student to instructor ratio. So hopefully that helps kind of talk about some of the differences in the bootcamp curriculum. If you want to see more the details about the curriculum, I dropped the link in the chat. It's mavenanalytics.io/data-analyst-bootcamp. So I'd recommend definitely check that out. What are the meeting times? What kind of support is there? And will I build a portfolio? So I think I talked already quite a bit about the portfolio piece, but just I'll hit that one again. Yes, you'll definitely build a portfolio. You'll get feedback from us. We'll talk about how to make each project work really well for you in a portfolio. You'll do one for each of the main modules: Excel, SQL, Power BI, Tableau. And then at the end, you'll also do a capstone project that you can choose to do whatever your favorite tool is. You could do multiple tools, and really will provide some sample data sets that you can use for that. Or if there's a certain industry that you're already in or that you want to be in, we'll also kind of help you pick a data set that's really relevant to that industry for the capstone project. So that's really cool. We had students present their capstones last Wednesday, and that was really fun that some of them had just come such a long way, and it's really awesome to see. So in terms of the support, you've got direct access to the course authors at this point. So when you're going through the SQL courses, that's me who helps people out. In Excel, it's Chris and Enrique. In Power BI, it's Aaron, and in Tableau, it's Dustin helping out. So you're getting one-on-one with the subject matter experts when you need it, and that's typically the main way that students have been liking to do this is through the Slack channel. So you can just kind of get real-time help as you're working on it, and we're pretty much plugged in there, probably more than we should be helping out, but it's great. We really like kind of the higher level of interaction with the students. Meeting times for this one. So this next cohort in September is a part-time boot camp with the kind of core audience for this is people who already have jobs and other commitments and are looking for some structure, but couldn't do a 30-hour-a-week full-time program. So so we have just one live session per week where we keep that within the range of 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. And so that's when we do all of our instructor QAs that are live. We do course kickoffs. We do all the career coaching sessions, and we keep it within that window so that folks can plan around that. What we find is it's, in Europe, it's evening. It's kind of early afternoon on the East Coast in the US. And then on the West Coast, it's right around lunchtime in the US. And it's been a time that we can kind of get most people together. So that's when we have the meeting times. But again, the Slack channel is there for you 24/7. But that's when we try to get people to meet. And we always tell people it's okay if you can't make all of the sessions, but we would like people to kind of make an honest effort to try to make as many as they can. It's just really important to us to build a community. And that's a big part of what this program offers, is becoming part of a cohort and getting to know people who are in the same boat as you, learning alongside one another. So it's really important to us that we do get that interaction between students and then also between instructors. But again, if you can't make a certain session because you have a family obligation or a work obligation, we do record every single one of the sessions and we distribute them to all the students. So if you can't make it, you'll be able to keep up just kind of on your own time. Does the Data Analyst Bootcamp include Python? So it does not. In the core curriculum, like I said, we cover Excel, SQL, Power BI, and Tableau. That said, Python's a very valuable skill to learn, and part of the bootcamp curriculum is lifetime access to everything on the Maven platform, both what we have today and what we will add in the future. So what we're seeing right now in the current cohort is there's a number of students who are really interested in Python. They focused on the core bootcamp curriculum for the past 6 months. And then now that they're done, they'll be pursuing Python on their own. And potentially, there's other students that are pursuing other things on their own. But so you do have kind of built-in lifetime access to all of that training content. And we can even help you towards the end of a boot camp decide what's kind of what are your next steps for a learning roadmap for folks who are wanting to continue to go further, which is a lot of people. What does the data analyst pathway look like? What are the skills required? Awesome. So this one could be an entire 1 hour session on its own, Darshan. But I'll say, the core skills that we're looking for. We talk about the analytics trifecta. We're talking about the technical data skills, which I can go over in a second. We talk about kind of business acumen and strategic thinking. So to be able to apply those skills to a business. And then the third being communication skills. And those are kind of the broad brushstrokes buckets that I would consider focusing on if you want to be in analytics. The technical skills are obviously really important because that's the hands-on nature of the job. You need to be able to get the data out. You need to be able to understand data infrastructure. You need to be able to actually do the work, but that's not really enough. You need the business acumen and the strategic thinking so that you can apply it to business problems that actually matter. So you're solving the right things. And then the other two skills, without communication, it's really hard to be effective, because typically as an analyst, we need to convince stakeholders to take action based on our data. And so becoming a really good data storyteller is super important. So that's kind of the super high level skills. In terms of the technical skills that I'd focus on for tools, we always say you have to know how to use Excel. It's basically everywhere. Almost impossible to find a company that doesn't use Excel, and they probably also use Google Sheets. So just the access to information and people being able to share information with you through Excel is so easy. And Excel is a very robust tool that can do a lot. So that's kind of table stakes. We say SQL is a very valuable one to learn, because so many companies store their data in relational databases, and SQL is how you get it. Because SQL is kind of considered coding to some, it can be intimidating. So it kind of keeps the supply of truly really good SQL analysts down. I think for me personally, the reason I've had a very good employment record is because of SQL skills, the technical skill that is, it's valuable, and it's also fairly rare. So relative to job opportunities. So that's the one that's kept me employed always. After that, we talk about, pick Tableau or Python or Power BI. One of those data visualization self-serve tools can be fantastic to kind of take your data viz game to the next level, start automating things, building dashboards for an organization. Those two they're the heavyweights. There's a whole bunch of others. Once you know how to use them, you kind of get sort of the core foundational concepts that you need. But it is definitely very different between the two tools. So it's not like you pick one and you can just use the other one right away. I think it makes the second one easier to learn after you've learned the first, but there is definitely still a learning curve. If I had to pick one between those two, I would push people towards Power BI right now. And that's just because what we're seeing in the marketplace from employers. For a long time, Tableau had been the heavyweight, and Microsoft has really caught up in terms of market share. It's really cheap, so a lot of companies are using it, and they're getting the licenses, and they're trying to get spun up on Power BI, and then realizing, wow, we need more people that are really good at using this and managing the infrastructure and using it to produce dashboards and get data. So I'd lean a little more towards Power BI. Tableau probably has a little bit of an edge in terms of the visualizations still, but just from the supply and demand side, I would say Power BI. And then next, you might want to think about Python and R. Either it kind of depends if you're sort of thinking towards the data science side, then those are definites. If you're kind of on the analytics side, it's okay to learn those too. There's a lot of people that are sort of hybrids that can add value in both ways. So I think those are great ones. And again, if you had to pick one, I would pick Python, and it's the same argument. Just the job opportunities right now for Python are still really, really hot. It's been kind of the hottest skill in data for, I don't know how many years now, but it's definitely still is right now. And it's also one that has kind of portability across data analyst, data scientist, data engineering. Python is a really flexible one, similar to SQL. All three of those job titles really can leverage Python. So hopefully that kind of helps with that question. Which Excel skills will help me develop business intelligence solutions with ease? So I would say for Excel, what we usually have people focus on is getting really good with kind of the most valuable formulas as a basic way to just start playing with data, to learn logical thinking, to learn row and table thinking. Excel is a great kind of entry point or a gateway to data analysis because of that. It's easy to actually see the data. You can manipulate it in the cells kind of without code. And you can kind of think of formulas as sort of coding light, where you can create these modifier columns. You can start to run your own calculations, and it's a really great way to start learning logical thinking. So start with formulas. Pivot tables are still just one of the easiest, quickest way to slice and dice information. So you absolutely should be able to run basic pivot tables. And then I would say next is learning about charts and graphs, where basically if you can manipulate the data with formulas, if you can kind of pivot out to get insights, and then if you get really good at charting your data and using visuals to tell a story and create a comprehensive dashboard for your business, that's probably a really, really good skill to focus on. And Enrique actually has a course called Advanced Excel Dashboard Design. It's fantastic. Talks about data visualization principles and walks through case studies in how to spin this stuff up. So that's what I would kind of focus as the main stuff. As you start to get into really large data sets, you want to think about Power Query, and that's something that Excel can help you expand into, and that's sort of a gateway towards Power BI and kind of more heavy data processing and data modeling work. Do you help international students get a job in the US, Mert? And unfortunately, Mert, for right now, this is not something that we're particularly well versed in. What we tend to focus on students who are already where they want to be, already kind of have authorization to work where they are, and then we focus on teaching them the skills, helping them market themselves. In some markets, we're able to connect people with employers that are coming to us. So especially in the US, that's something that we're very well able to do. A little bit if students are in the UK and in Canada, we have some connections there, but not as good as the US. And then outside of that, it kind of, our ability to help place people falls off pretty fast. And we try to be really upfront with that, where most of the management team and people who have been in this industry for a long time are in the US here. So that's where our network is deepest. But that's kind of changing over time. We are expanding a little bit, but yeah, basically the short answer to this is no. This is definitely not kind of a core service of ours, helping people figure out how to get sponsorship in the US. I can follow up after this and see if there's if I can find any good resources for you, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly where I would point you for this one. Why should I do this instead of a master's degree at WGU? So this I don't necessarily think there's a right path here. What I would tell anybody thinking about a master's degree, or different levels of training like a boot camp, or just trying to go on YouTube and do it yourself, is just think about the cost benefit of each of the programs. A master's degree is going to be the most expensive in terms of both the money and the time. Something like a boot camp is sort of the next level down, where it's significantly cheaper than higher education. And then, there's also self-paced options like Maven has. And, the self-paced options are, a lower level of support, not as much on the career coaching, but still you can learn a lot of the skills. And what I would tell people is just think about kind of specifically what you want, and understand what the different options are at the different levels are, what they cost, what they offer, and then just pick the right one that's, that fits for what you need and kind of what your budget and appetite is. There's no wrong way. I think people that go for a master's, that could be great. I think people that just never want to spend a penny and then want to just kind of go to YouTube, if you are really, really good and self-sufficient there, you could learn a lot of stuff without ever paying a dime. There's also, on that path, there's a lot of ways you could go wrong, and you might not know what you don't know in order to put together a curriculum. But yeah, Emmanuel, very, very personal choice, and I just kind of recommend you think a lot about it before you make a major investment in either a master's degree or a boot camp, and just make sure that it's something that you really want to do. What disqualifies a candidate from being admitted to the boot camp? Let's see. So what would disqualify somebody? If we get on an interview and the person's just a total jerk, we kind of have a no jerks policy. It's a small group, and we try to build a community. And the current boot camp is just it's a really nice group of people that we enjoy helping every day. So I'd say that's probably number one. We also do have an application screener of just kind of testing your analytical and logical thinking and problem solving abilities. So that we found that to be pretty predictive, where people who do well on that kind of have a high aptitude for this career, and we've seen them do really well in the boot camp in the past. And people who haven't have struggled a lot, but that's not the only part of the boot camp application that we look at, but it does weigh pretty heavily. And we look at people's motivations. So are people really dedicated to making a career switch? Do we think they're going to be able to put in the effort? Does it sound like they have space in their life for a major 6-month commitment to learning an entire new set of skills, learning how to market yourself? So that commitment is really important to us. When we meet people who are extremely motivated and we can tell they're going to put in the work, we're really confident that we can help them get where they want to go. Where people who are kind of seem like they're more kicking the tires and aren't quite as committed, it just makes us a little nervous. We're not sure if we can really help people. I always say, if somebody has a really good motor, you can kind of corral them a little bit. If they're a wild horse that's running really fast, but there's only so much caffeine you can give somebody who isn't motivated. So that's kind of how I think about that. Without experience in IT, will it be easy to transition from the HR field? So I think that depends. And what I want to do is I want to grab a link for you to on our blog. There's a great case study that we have of a guy named Jim Carnegie, and he's in Australia. And Jim was an HR generalist for a long time, and he wasn't really into it, and he actually started taking Excel courses for data analysis and just loved it, and ended up today he has his own business as an HR analytics consulting shop. And so I think in his case, he was learning on the job and finding ways to use the skills that he was learning in courses on his current data set there. He was able to save his company a whole bunch of money. And that, I think, ended up being a really good story that helped him talk to other companies in terms of getting business. But I would definitely recommend checking him out. I'm dropping Jim's story down here in the chat. And I think, just give me 1 second. I think we've also got like a video where he talks about it. I really like Jim. He's a fun guy. He's been working really hard, and so we've got a second story where he actually came and talked about his story on camera. So Yeah, so Anisha, definitely take a look at those two. For anybody else who's interested in HR analytics, I would look at that. If anybody's watching the replay live, I'm not sure if you can see the chat, so you can just go to mavenanalytics.io/blog, and you could search for the word Jim, Jim, and that will pop up both of these results for you. So that's what comes to mind when I think about HR, Anisha. Can we get a tuition-free scholarship? Are there any financial aid offers to help? So we can't right now. We can't offer anybody a full ride. This is just it's a high touch program that we put a lot of time into personally, and that's so we have a lot of expenses associated with it. What we do offer is for anybody who is watching this this live event, or even if you're watching the replay, I think we'd give you the same offer. If you put in an application, and in the application you mention having watched the live event, we'll do 20% off of tuition, which ends up being pretty material. So that's kind of the best that we can do for you right now, and we just have too many costs that are associated with it. So we can't, unfortunately. Maybe someday in the future we might be able to do free scholarships, but currently the model doesn't really support that. Will there be real life projects to be practiced with during learning time? So absolutely. First, basically, all of the courses that we have are very hands-on focused. We believe in hands-on learning. You will usually watch some lectures where it's explaining the subject, explaining how to do whatever it is that you need to do, and then you'll go off and you'll work on practice problems yourself. So kind of immediately reinforcing that. And then we talked about this a little bit earlier, but for anybody who wasn't on, at the end of each of the modules, at the end of Excel, SQL, Power BI, and Tableau, there's a course project that takes it kind of up a notch. That's a pretty serious business problem. You dive into a data set, and you're gonna find insights and have to present a case with some business recommendations, just like you would in the real world. So we do one of those for each of the sections. You will get feedback from the instructors. You'll do that in front of your student cohort also, and then at the end of the course, there's a fifth project that's a capstone project, and that can be kind of a choose your own adventure. We'll definitely recommend data sets if you don't have anything in particular that you're really excited about, but for anybody who's interested in a certain industry, we'll kind of encourage you to take on a project that is extremely relevant to the industry that you want to get into. Are there any data engineer courses available through Maven Analytics? So our bread and butter is not data engineering. It's really data analyst is sort of the prototype aspiration of somebody who's coming to Maven. So we're really focused on serving that target really well. That said, there are certain things where there's kind of a lot of overlap. So for example, whether you want to be a data analyst or a data engineer, learning SQL is absolutely a very good idea. It's used across data analysis, data engineering, and data science. Same thing with Python. It's used across the board. We also teach even through Power BI, through Tableau, and even in the Power Query courses in Excel. We talk about data modeling, how to set up data structures kind of the correct way. So there are some topics that we do cover for data engineering, but I would say if your goal is you want to be a data analyst, this is a very good program for you. If your goal is specifically, I want to be a data engineer, I would maybe say, maybe check out some of the self-paced courses, but I wouldn't recommend you come into this data analyst bootcamp. And I would think about kind of what are some of the other places that you could go and learn that focus more on data engineering, because that's just not it's not our bread and butter. What are the best techniques for effective data analysis? All right, yeah, that's this again. This one could be an entire hour. What I would say to kind of give you a quick and hopefully pretty useful answer is, I would always recommend you start by pretending you're not the data analyst. Pretend you are the business person and think with the business hat on first. So, pretend you are the CEO, the head of marketing, the head of the call center, the head of the operations team, whatever it is, the person who is responsible for growing the business, the person who is responsible for keeping the costs low, whoever is kind of your relevant stakeholder. And I would say first, think through what are the things that are most important to them in general. Kind of forget about the current analysis that you're thinking about doing. Just like what are the most important things to this business person about their job and how they run the business. So what are the things that they're trying to improve about the business on a daily basis? And what do you think their pain points are, right? That can give you some really good context into what they're going to care about. And then when you get into looking into a specific topic, try to think about how that fits into kind of their broader scope. And then any analysis really should be focused on kind of answering those most important business questions for that person. Ideally, if you can, in a way that gives them some information, that you give them what we'll call a lever to pull. And basically you're arming them with information and you're saying, here's something that you can change about your business. And if you do that, your business will improve. And this will help, those key metrics that you as a business person care about. And if you can get really good at that framework as a data analyst, you'll just be much more effective, because that's your stakeholders, they're self-interested. And if you can figure out what's important to them and what's going to really matter for your business, that's how you're actually going to affect change in an organization. So it's probably not the exact technical question you were asking, Kimberly, but it's I think it's the best answer that I can give in kind of trying to keep everything to 3 minutes. Think business first. Start as if you were the stakeholder. What are the questions you want answered, and really dive in there. And if you do that, I think you'll do great. What is the student to success job offer ratio from Fred? So right now, I don't have numbers from this current cohort. I know some people got jobs right away. Other people are still looking right now. Like some people got jobs way early. I know some people haven't kind of even started their search. They're waiting until after the boot camp is over. And then some other folks, probably somewhere in the 5 or 6 of them they're in a job they love already. So they're not even looking. But I'll talk about the first boot camp that we did. And so basically right now we're everybody but one student from that first boot camp, which was last September, has a job as a data analyst. And the one person, I think she's figuring out like where she wants to live. So she's in a country outside the US. She might move to the US. She might also move to a third country. So I think that's kind of what's been tripping her up, not knowing exactly where she's going. But yeah, we had some pretty good success where a couple of people got jobs right off the bat. Some other folks that we kind of struggled with for a while were people that didn't have college education. It was a little harder for us to get them over the finish line just getting interviews. Some employers are still being sticklers on that, but But even that group of people, there was a couple that that we let into the last 2 boot camps ago that didn't have college educations. Those people both have jobs now, which is awesome. So yeah, so it's pretty good. And that's, I think part of it is we try to only let people in that we think have the aptitude to be really good at this and that we believe that we can help. And and then the other part is we care about it a lot, and we try to help people. We're this isn't a boot camp factory where you're like one of 10,000 people that has this boot camp credential. The current cohort that's graduating tomorrow is 17 people. I interviewed personally every single one of them before they came in. We helped them all out with their projects. So we are very much like a bespoke solution here, where it's a small group of people at Maven that really care and really want to help. And I think that's why we do pretty well on this metric. How can I be disciplined when studying analytics? Yeah, I mean, I think this one is kind of like anything. What I would do is kind of, I think 2 things are really important here. Having a good roadmap at first, and I think a specific roadmap in terms of sequencing of what you want to learn, I think is really important. So not just to say like, I want to learn Excel and SQL and Power BI and Tableau and Python and R, and I want to learn machine learning, not just like a list of everything under the sun that you want to learn, but actually like a well thought out logical sequence of, okay, I'm going to learn Excel first because Excel is kind of the least intimidating way to get in here. It's a thing where whether you're in school or you're at a current employer, there's going to be opportunities to practice what you're learning immediately, guaranteed, and it's just a great jumping off point. So come up with that roadmap. Like, I'm going to start here. Then after I get done with that, I'm going to go to the next one. Don't try to do everything at once. Come up with a good roadmap that's a solid logical sequence, and that's something at Maven we help people with. We do custom plans for people, kind of on the individual self-serve side. We've got paths you can go look at on our website. Like the BI analyst path is a pretty fantastic one that I point people to a lot. So get that roadmap is kind of step 1, and then just kind of hold yourself accountable every week to some mini milestones. Like set goals at the beginning of the week, and then be honest with yourself if you've hit those goals. I've found trying to set like a 6-month out or a year out goal, a lot of times the time can just pass and you don't make as much progress as you had hoped. But if you can set shorter goals for yourself, like, I want to complete this 4 hours of course material by the end of this week, that's typically a much more attainable goal. And it's something that you can make progress on in sort of real time each week. So I would do that. So have a great roadmap, and then set kind of smaller short-term goals and try to focus there. What else is on the Python roadmap? This one seems like a trap that will get me in trouble with Chris. But so what we've done so far with Python is we have a base Python course that's really like nail your fundamentals, blocking and tackling. What is Python? How do we use it? What's kind of the core fundamental syntax for various things? And it doesn't even really get into serious analysis at that stage. Then in the second course that's already out currently, we have it's Python with pandas for data analysis. So that course came out, I don't know, maybe a month or month and a half, maybe it's 2 months ago. But that's a course people have really liked. And I don't know if I can go into too much detail in the roadmap just because it is kind of in flux, and I don't want to promise anything that's kind of too far downstream. But we are definitely doing a third course next that is going to focus on data visualization. So I think I shouldn't even say which specific libraries, because I think I know what they are, but I'm not 100% sure that's all set in stone. But plan on some data visualization coming up next with Python, and then after that, I think there's some areas we can continue to expand kind of within core data analysis, and then maybe someday down the road we get into even more data science, data engineering topics with Python, because there's definitely appetite for it from our students. And we have a fantastic data science instructor in Chris Brule who teaches this stuff. He's really good. So it shouldn't be too surprising if we end up going there someday. Google Sheets. Yeah, so Google Sheets and Excel, do I think there will be parity regard to analytical capabilities? I mean, so first, Google Sheets kind of surprised me with how much it can already do today. I would say, in many ways, a lot of the two products kind of have parity, and then there's other areas where they definitely don't. I was trying to put together a dashboard the other day using Google Sheets, and if anybody from Google Sheets is listening, I think a lot of your product is awesome, but the graphing capabilities are just so far behind where Excel is. It's so much easier to build a great dashboard with Microsoft Excel than it is in Google Sheets. I won't go into a ton of details, but that was recently super painful. So I hope they work on that, because I mean, to me, that's not even super advanced functionality. That's kind of like, at this point, that's blocking and tackling for a spreadsheet program. So I would hope that that's going to come up closer to parity pretty soon. And that's what I've got. Let me stop sharing, and I'm gonna jump into the submitted questions here that we've got from folks. So I'm just gonna start kind of in the order that they came in. Oh, Mert, already working as a BI consultant. Good, congratulations, that's awesome. Nico, ClickSense developer, awesome, very cool. Analytics company name. So yeah, so that is Analytic Recruiting. And let me just make sure that I have the link, and I'll drop that in here for you guys. So yeah, it's analyticrecruiting.com, and they are great. So this is the link for Analytic Recruiting. They're big and they are niche, so all of their jobs are very relevant to people who want to be working in data. So I've had good experience with them over the years, and I would definitely recommend people checking them out. So what was the analytics company's name? Internship Offers after the training. So not exactly. I wouldn't say we have like an official program. What we do is, right now it's sort of an informal kind of matchmaking that we do just with our own network. I think in the future we'll try to get better at this and kind of build a pipeline. And we really do have a couple pipeline companies that are pretty much always coming to us that have been growing a lot and asking for talent. But I'll say, like, an example where it can work really well is when we have students that are in the bootcamp and are particularly strong. Because it's such a small bootcamp, it's pretty easy for us to make introductions on their behalf. It's definitely not a guaranteed internship or anything like that. But so, for example, Jay Waite was in the first bootcamp, and he's like, I love I love SQL and love Power BI. So he said, I want a job that has SQL and Power BI. And Jay is also a really personable guy. He's awesome with people. He's a wonderful person. And so we said, okay, he skews really good with people. He loves SQL, loves Power BI. By the way, those are two fantastic skills to love. It helps if we're trying to find you a job. They're very in demand. And so I connected him with a guy that we know who runs a consulting firm in the UK, and we connected him actually with another consulting firm in the UK, and he ended up interviewing with both. I think he took the first offer he got. I think he would have gotten an offer with the second one because he's fantastic, but I think he ended up just jumping. The first one was great, and he's there and he's doing well. So we can do that sometimes, but we don't have like an official program like everyone who comes through this goes to Amazon or something like that. We don't have anything like that set up yet. So it's more like on an individual basis. We try to help if we can, placing you with folks, with companies that we know who are coming to us looking for talent. And I mentioned this before, but just so anybody who's come on more recently understands, we're pretty good at doing this in the US. We have a really good network. We're okay in the UK, Canada. Outside of that, we're really not quite as good. So just want you guys to all be kind of clear on where we're strong and where we're not. Internship. How a data science master's student can get benefit from Maven Analytics. So Nasheed, are you currently a data science master's student? I would probably, my guess is if you are a current student, you probably are wanting to focus there. You're probably pretty busy. But I think what we do is if you're interested in kind of data analysis and business intelligence and taking data and using it to find insights and inform business decisions and drive an impact in the business, that's really what we do. We're not as much on the data science side. So it's less about modeling, less about machine learning, and more about kind of using data to make optimizations in a business, do reporting on things, or how are things going in a business. That's where we really focus. And I think that gets us to the end in the chat. And actually, we've got there's another tab here that I completely ignored called questions. Great. So yeah, let's get into this. What are some of the best practices to developing analytical mindset rather than more focus on tools, from Alice? This is a great question. So we actually have a course called Thinking Like an Analyst that I would recommend checking that one out, whether you're in the bootcamp or just want to go check out the course. It's the first course that we have people take if they're going to enroll in the bootcamp, and it's also the first course that we have people take if they're pursuing the BI analyst path on our self-serve learning platform. So it's a really important course, and this talks about a number of things that are really important. So you talk about how to do measurement planning, how to think like the business owner, how to translate those business goals into key metrics, how to think about how you actually serve those key metrics. So how, in terms of identifying gaps in the data, do you need to do any additional collection that you don't have already? So that's the measurement planning section. There's a section on data cleaning and data profiling and how to think about that, which I think is really useful. There's a section on data visualization best practices, and so I'd say that's another really great thing to get into there. So that's how we teach it. And then the other thing that I tell people is just, this is something that kind of analytical thinking, problem solving, business acumen, it's sort of just gets better over time as you get more experience to different business models. So that's kind of I'd say kind of the best way is just through do projects over and over again, real simulated projects. You can go if you're kind of struggling to get projects, you can go to the Data Playground, which for anybody who doesn't know, Data Playground is a free place to get practice data sets, and it includes prompts that you can use. So if you're not sure what to do with the data set, if you don't know what data set to go for, just go to the Data Playground, pick one that sounds interesting, and we provide these recommended analyses prompts, and you can just jump in there, and I'd say do a whole bunch of those. That can just kind of going through those, you'll start to think about kind of, how do I answer these questions? How is data structured? And that can be a really good way to do it. Next, we've got what's the time difference for classes, meetings? I'm in West African time. So I think, Tewo, I think your time zone is fine. We do try to limit the participants to kind of, I think we said from Hawaii and then going west until about Greece. And that's because we have the courses are between 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern time. And we don't expect anybody showing up for live sessions in the middle of the night. So like Australia is really hard for us right now. India is really hard for us right now. Kind of that on that end of the world is just the live courses would be kind of dead in the middle of the night. So yeah, but where you're at in West African time, I think is no problem. It'd be kind of late evening for you. So that's total. You would be inbound. So we would absolutely consider you for the program. And I mean, we have had, we had somebody in our current cohort that he's in the UAE, and so I think he's doing classes with us. I think it's 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. And I initially looked at his application and said it was too late. I didn't want anybody staying up that late for live sessions, but I kind of confirmed it with him, and he took the interview. At that time, he was actually working out at that time, and he's ended up showing up to all the classes. He's super determined. So yeah, so I'd say if you're unsure about the time zone, talk to us, and we can work with you on it. But generally, we try to keep people to like regular schedules for now. And then at some point, if we get more volume of students in the future, we might open a second cohort and do it for kind of the other part of the world that's 12 hours off from us. But right now, we're kind of trying to limit it to reasonable time for everybody. Best practices. Oh yeah, cool. Same question here from Alice. We already covered. And then this looks like the last one. You also train for the interview and job process too, from Nashid. So yes, we do. We do. One of the career coaching sessions that we do is the final one is interview prep. So we talk about what employers are looking for in an interview, kind of how they assess that, how you can prepare for interviews, what the pitfalls are that you should avoid, that type of thing. So we definitely do that, and we do that in the bootcamp, and we also do that too we have a course called Launching Your Data Career, and that's we cover a lot of the career topics kind of in a self-serve nature where you can get those through watching the videos. That's on the Maven Analytics platform, is another thing you can see. So that's that. We made it an hour and covered all 20 pre-submitted questions and a few here. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I hope this was helpful. If you're looking for anything else, come to Maven Analytics, talk to us in the chat. We're always around. You could shoot me a note on LinkedIn. Happy to answer questions. Sometimes I get kind of bombarded there, so might be slow or never get back to you, but I'll try, depending on how frequently I'm on there and what else I got going on. I think we might have one more chat just to see if there's another questions. Oh, just thank you, Mert, for joining. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks everybody. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys in the boot camp. If you are interested, go to mavenanalytics.io/data-analyst-bootcamp, and you can put in an application. And like I said at the beginning, mention this live event, and we will give you 20% off the tuition, which is it's pretty material. So thanks everybody. Bye.